shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
For the first time, a former president is a convicted felon, but Donald Trump is expected to fight the results of his hush money trial. This morning, we explore what's next and what this could mean for the upcoming election.
And it's the coolest, driest morning that we've seen all week. We're down at refreshing right now, but by the end of the weekend, it's steamy again. I'll show you why we're changing.
A local fire chief is facing charges after being accused of hiding a camera in the station. That chief is expected in a courtroom later today after he was arrested last night.
And the stage is set for this year's NBA Finals. The Dallas Mavericks are on their way to the championship series after a big win last night. We'll be getting into a lot of those stories this morning in just a bit. We want to say thanks for joining us here on WRAL News. I'm Chris Lovingood in for Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Great to have you with us out there. Once again, we have that refreshing feel. Elizabeth, I needed another layer, but you know what? At this time of the year, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. You know, it's not going to last that much longer. It's just delightful out there this morning. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh, past the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. It is 57 degrees with a dew point of 46. So it's even cooler and drier than it was this time yesterday. Yesterday was delightful. We do have at the top of the tower lit in blue for the clear skies that we're seeing all across the region. It's 50 in Roxborough. I would put some money on the fact that Roxborough is going to drop on into the 40s probably in the next hour or two. It's 64 in Fayetteville, but 57 in Durham, 60 in Southern Pines and in Goldsboro. So just delightful out there this morning and a gorgeous day ahead. Temperatures at lunchtime will be in the low 70s and we'll hit 78 this afternoon. I'll show you the changing pattern that's going to bring back some warmth and humidity in a few days coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Today, we're expecting to hear more from Donald Trump after he became the first former president to be convicted of felony crimes. Trump plans to hold a news conference at 11 this morning at Trump Tower. His sentencing date is July 11th, but his legal team is likely to appeal the jury's verdict that found him guilty on all 34 counts in his hush money trial. All of this is expected to play a big role in the upcoming presidential election. Trump has already lashed out at the verdict. He shared this graphic to his Truth Social platform, saying this is not a prosecution, it's a persecution. Trump's sentencing date is 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention, where he's expected to be named the GOP nominee for president. Trump's attorneys may try to push his sentencing date later, possibly even after the November 5th presidential election, but it's unlikely the judge would grant a delay.
Now, to be clear, Donald Trump is still eligible to run for president despite his conviction. Both he and President Joe Biden say the most important decision is coming on Election Day. In a post to social media, the Biden campaign said, quote, "There's only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box." The Trump campaign also put a call out to supporters. He said, quote, "The real verdict will be on November 5th by the people. They know what happened here."
Political analysts tell WRAL the conviction won't stop Trump's campaign. In fact, it may strengthen it. Meredith College professor David McLennan says the conviction presents a challenge for the Biden campaign, as Trump is labeling himself a political prisoner.
If they go too hard, make this a central issue of the campaign, it almost feeds into Trump's messaging. But they can't avoid it.
We also spoke with Judge Bob Orr, a retired North Carolina Supreme Court justice. He says it's unlikely Trump will face prison time in this case, but there are other worries coming up.
They've got to be really concerned about the other cases in federal court and in Georgia.
Trump is facing 3 more trials, including the election interference case in Georgia. No start date has been set for the Georgia trial yet.
And coming up in about 10 minutes, we're going to give you a look at our exclusive WRAL News poll. We'll show you what it reveals about how the conviction might affect voter opinion. And this morning on Today, Trump's defense attorney, Todd Blanche, will be live in Studio 1A, and he'll talk about the verdict and the legal team's next steps. Today airs at 7 o'clock right here on WRAL. The chief of the Grays Creek Fire Department is expected in court this afternoon. Cumberland County detectives arrested Benjamin Marsh yesterday, right here on your screen. He's facing a felony charge after being accused of putting a camera into a vent at the Grays Creek Fire Station. Coming up at 5 o'clock, WRAL's Kelsey Coffey will join us live with a closer look at the allegations.
A man is in the hospital with serious injuries after a shooting on South Roxborough Street in Durham. Police responded just after 4:30 yesterday afternoon and found a man with life-threatening injuries. This is video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. No one is in custody. Police say this is an active investigation.
A woman from Zebulon is charged with child abuse for something police say happened at a school. 62-year-old Shirley Richardson is facing 2 misdemeanor counts of child abuse. Police say the alleged abuse happened earlier this month. It involved a student at Wakeland Elementary School. Richardson was working at the school as an instructional assistant at the time, and we're checking with Wake County Schools to see the status of her employment.
Hundreds of daycare centers in North Carolina could be forced to close when COVID-era funding runs out June 30th. North Carolina Democrats say the state has enough money to help. They want it woven into the state budget. Democratic lawmakers say the Republican-led legislature is ignoring the issue. They say GOP leaders want to spend millions more on private school tuition vouchers instead.
The wise course would be not to fund the vouchers, and to take that money as much as possible and pour it into child care.
Spokespeople for Republican legislative leaders did not respond to a request for comment. They previously said the voucher program is a top priority.
This morning, 3 historic stone houses at Dix Park will officially debut after a 16-month renovation. A ribbon cutting will be held at 10 this morning to mark 100 years since the original construction. The buildings have been transformed thanks in part to the State Employees Credit Union and its foundation. The Gatekeeper's Cottage will be a welcome center with a historic display. The Superintendent's House will serve as the Dix Park Conservancy offices in meeting space. And the Physician's House will offer office space for City of Raleigh volunteer services and even host artists in residence.
Today, law enforcement officers from across the state will lace up their sneakers to complete the torch run for the Special Olympics. Several agencies will take part in a 5-mile run that will begin at Carter Finley Stadium at 10 this morning. They will finish at the state capitol before noon. This is the final stretch of the Flame of Hope torch that the Zebulon and Knightdale Police Departments and Wake County Sheriff's Office took part in earlier this week.
This morning, researchers at NC State will have a new facility to research the future of protein. The university is receiving a $30 million grant from the Bezos Earth Fund. Over the course of 5 years, researchers will study the ways to create sustainable protein to help feed a growing population. The official announcement will be made on Centennial Campus, and that is this morning at 10:30.
Get ready to enjoy authentic Greek food, music, and shopping without leaving the Triangle. The Raleigh Greek Festival kicks off today and runs through Sunday. It'll be at the Jim Graham Building of the North Carolina State Fairgrounds in Raleigh. You'll be able to enjoy Greek food prepared by the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church. A portion of the ticket sales will be donated to Habitat for Humanity and Team Rubicon.
All right, the matchup for the NBA Finals. It's set. The Dallas Mavericks are the Western Conference champions. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves last night 124-103 in Game 5 of their series. The Mavericks won the series 4-1, and they'll play the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. And that series will get started next week.
A 911 call is giving new insight on a Moore County shooting that killed a utility worker. Why the woman who called said the situation was escalating quickly.
The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court says he will not meet with lawmakers over a controversy surrounding Justice Samuel Alito. Why John Roberts says he will not talk with them about the pro-Trump flags on Alito's properties.
It's another cool and comfortable morning as you take a live look at Apex. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is back after the break with a check of how our weekend is shaping up.
441, we take a live look at Chapel Hill this morning. All is quiet. It feels fantastic out there. Temperatures are in the 50s for the most part, and our dew points are down in the 40s, so it just feels phenomenal. A gorgeous day. We take a look at our temperatures heading out the door. 52 in Lewisburg, 57 Tarboro, 52 in South Hill, but 64 in Fayetteville and 63 degrees in Goldsboro. But again, just a lovely start out there. At the bus stop, you know, the kids really probably do need a light jacket, but the shorts and T-shirts will feel great for this afternoon. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s. That's a good bit below normal. Our normal high right now is 85, so that does bring us below normal. And it is a bit on the unusual side to see temperatures that far below normal without seeing a rainy day this time of year. I'll show you when we might see some rain coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Newly released 911 calls from a Moore County shooting are shedding more light on what happened. A woman desperately calls for deputies to get to her house as her husband was confronting a man she says was taking pictures of the home. The utility worker was 35-year-old Ramzan Dariev. The sheriff's office says he was a subcontractor for Utilities One. In the call, a woman pleads with the dispatcher to hurry up and send police to her home in Carthage. She said Dariev was taking pictures of their property and their kids and was getting aggressive.
There's an intruder on our property. My husband has gone to meet him, is now talking to him and yelled to me from the wood line to call the police. Okay. He's been very aggressive.
Deputies who responded found Dariev shot to death. It's unclear if any charges will be filed.
Our exclusive WRAL News poll conducted before the trial began shows that many voters will vote for Donald Trump even with his conviction. 30% of Republican voters said that they would be more likely to vote for Trump if convicted. 13% said less likely. 50% said it would not affect their vote. Unaffiliated voters make up the biggest block of voters in our state. 49% of them in our poll said they would be less likely to vote for Trump if convicted. 11% said more likely, and 35% said it wouldn't impact their vote. 65% of Democrats said they would be less likely to vote for Trump if convicted. And if we put all the groups together, Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated voters, it's pretty close. 41% said they would be less likely to vote for Trump after a conviction, and 38% said it would not change their vote. 16% said they would be more likely to vote for him.
An Alabama man convicted of killing an elderly couple is dead after the U.S. Supreme Court refused to stop his execution. Jamie Mills submitted an 11th-hour bid to pause his execution to give him time to appeal his case. He was convicted of beating an 87-year-old man and 72-year-old woman to death with a machete, tire tool, and hammer during a robbery in 2004. Mills actually made two different requests, one based on a plea deal his girlfriend made with prosecutors, another based on his belief that Alabama has a history of botched lethal injections. The justices rejected both requests.
Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts says that he will not meet with lawmakers about pro-Trump flags. These were flags flown at Justice Samuel Alito's properties. Two Democratic senators requested this meeting. They said they want to address what they call the Supreme Court's ethics crisis. Roberts cited concerns about separation of power when denying the invitation. His response comes a day after Alito said he would not recuse himself in cases involving Trump or the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
The NCAA has agreed to drop a controversial rule that makes it difficult for college athletes to transfer schools and remain eligible to play. Under the proposed agreement, student athletes who transferred more than once are required to sit out for an entire season before they are allowed to play at their new school. Prosecutors argued the rule forced athletes to stay in schools they want to leave or miss out on athletic opportunities. The new agreement also requires the NCAA to issue an additional year of eligibility to certain athletes. A judge still needs to sign off on the agreement.
Part of the beach is back open in Rodanthe. Crews and volunteers have finished cleaning up the remains of a home that collapsed on the beach there. The abandoned home was the sixth one to collapse on the beach in the last 4 years. Crews had to shut down about a quarter mile of the beach just to clean it up. Environmental experts say this will likely continue to happen to these homes that are close to the water. All right, this morning you probably woke up and noticed, man, it's really nice out there. You may even have your window open. We have Elizabeth Gardner getting you started on your day. Elizabeth, normally I might have the seat cooler on in the car, but I turned it off. I said, nah, we don't need that this morning.
It is so nice out there right now. Just incredible. But as we go through the next 2 minutes, I'm going to show you when that starts to change and we get back to reality for this time of year. Taking a live look at downtown Raleigh. We are clear, gorgeous little crescent moon out there. Pretty stars. Just a lovely sight at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. 57 is our temperature. We've been close to that the last several days. We hadn't actually dropped down into the 50s this early. And we may be in the mid-50s at some point between 6 and 7. By lunchtime, we're in the low 70s and our low humidity remains. So it's going to be a great day, really a great weekend overall to get outside and enjoy. And I love this photo from our weather watcher, Andrea Osborne, who took this picture of this gorgeous pink and red sculpture over at NC State against that gorgeous blue sky that we saw yesterday. Just beautiful. beautiful. We would love to see what you're doing in your backyard too. Go to WRAL.com, search Weather Watchers, upload some photos, and we will get those on TV to share with everybody. 78 for Raleigh today, 76 in Durham, and 80 degrees in Fayetteville under sunny skies today. It is likely to be another chilly start tomorrow morning, as cool as 52 in Raleigh, 49 in Durham, and 46 in Roxborough. This is what we'll see this time tomorrow. 48 in Rocky Mount, 49 in Wilson, 46 in Sanford, 52 in Fayetteville. So another very cool start. It's going to be a nice morning tomorrow. Lots of events happening over the weekend. If you're headed out to the Durham Walk for the Animals, the Animal Protection Society of Durham, Kat Campbell will be emceeing the walk at 9 a.m., 68 degrees, and by 1 o'clock up to around 80. International Festival also in downtown Raleigh, looking great for tomorrow. We'll see mostly clear skies. Temperatures will be in the mid 80s in the middle of the afternoon, and that runs from 11 o'clock to 7 p.m. Our temperature change, of course, has been significant. We're a good bit below normal. Our normal high for this time of year is 85, and we're in the 70s. But we do see some of the warmer temperatures rolling back in as we get into next week. Our muggy meter has us way down at refreshing right now, 46 degrees. But that will climb to steamy just by Sunday. So we see a quick jump, and we're even into the tropical zone by Tuesday and Wednesday. So the gorgeous feel that we have to the air mass is not going to last. We're thinking this high pressure system to our north for that. It's sending us this northerly flow. But as that high slides eastward, the wind shifts to southwesterly, and watch how the green shaded area starts to move over our area on Sunday. That is an increase in humidity, not an increase in rain, just an increase in humidity. It's going to be nice in the mountains for tomorrow. Temperatures will be mostly in the 60s and 70s, but a chance of thunderstorms on Sunday along the coast. The beach looks nice and dry with temperatures along the coast in the upper 70s to low 80s, both Saturday and Sunday. So good looking weather for the entire state. We're back to a chance of thunderstorms Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and it will feel more summer-like with those warmer temperatures.
An aviation museum is reopening in North Carolina after years of renovations. A look ahead to the grand reopening of the Sullenberger Aviation Museum in Charlotte. Yeah, that name might ring a bell.
I think people knew who that is. Plus, a World War II veteran is returning to Europe for the first time since the war. His preparations to visit Normandy for a solemn remembrance 80 years after D-Day.
Welcome back. It is 4:53 as we take a live look at Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. Feels wonderful out there. 57 degrees. Might want to grab a light jacket before you head out. A New York man has pleaded guilty to harassing and threatening members of Congress. 35-year-old Ade Salim Lilly admitted to making more than 12,000 harassing and violent phone calls to 54 members of Congress over the course of 2 years. He even threatened to kill a congressional staff member. The call started in February of 2022 and ended in November 2023 when he was arrested. Lilly faces fines up to $500,000 and 7 years in prison.
North Carolina's new and reimagined Sullenberger Aviation Museum will reopen tomorrow after years of renovations. Retired Captain Sully Sullenberger visited Charlotte this week to get a preview of this. You see him right there. The museum is named for the Sullenberger, who landed his disabled plane on the Hudson River. You may recall that happened in New York back in 2009. All 155 people on board survived, and that flight was en route to Charlotte. The museum is near Charlotte Douglas International Airport.
Jeep is revealing its first fully electric vehicle. The Wagoneer S is an SUV that has a sleeker shape than the gas-powered Jeep Wagoneer models. The new model will have a grille that lights up, and it can go up to 60 miles per hour in under 3.5 seconds. It will also reach over 300 miles per charge. The price for the new electric SUV starts at $72,000.
A World War II veteran in North Carolina is returning to one of the most historic battlegrounds during the conflict. He was one out of 70 people picked for a free trip to France to mark 80 years since D-Day. Star Connor shares with us what this opportunity meant to him.
Jacket with the Demon Air Corps on it, and a couple of shirts.
As World War II veteran Frank Perry Sr. reflects on his time in the military, he will soon be on a new mission, reflecting on his experiences with his fellow soldiers on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, where it happened in Normandy, France.
There'll be some celebrations, I'm sure, but for the most part, I believe it'll be a solemn event in memory of those brave people, and Americans and British, Canadians, and all those that participated in that landing.
Perry joined the Army Air Corps in 1944 after graduating high school. He was just 18 years old.
They had to be a bunch of awfully brave soldiers, sailors and stuff to be involved in that invasion. Just imagine stepping off the boat into a line of fire, and I just can't imagine what went through their minds during that time.
Perry was part of the last mission. He served as a gunner inside of B-24 bombers. He recalls staying on high alert for enemy fighter aircrafts.
But we did manage to get I got two official combat missions.
The 98-year-old says he's excited to go back to France, but he knows it's a time to reflect and pay his respects to those who lost their lives on D-Day.
I haven't been back to Europe since I left in 1945.
North Carolina will soon be one of the few states with a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic band. The company says the bands are going away in most stores, but they will remain in just 5 locations, and one of those will be in Charlotte. The others will be in California, Illinois, and 2 in New York.
WRAL will continue bringing you reaction to the historic verdict against former President Donald Trump. How people who spoke with WRAL say that it will or won't affect their vote.
A police officer is dead. Another is hurt after shooting in Minneapolis. How the officer who died was working to help others when he was ambushed.
And we have another cool and pleasant day ahead of us to start your Friday. A beautiful way to start the weekend, too. You're getting a live look at Franklinton this morning. We'll check in with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with a look at the weekend and how long this nice stretch of weather will last.